Welcome to the penultimate episode of Season 1 of the Go-To Physio Show. Coming up in today's show, we take you through a step-by-step system for an ankle joint injury. In addition to that, I also show you some strategies that I use that I often see overlooked even in pro sport. And we also show you the one question that you have to ask a patient who is not adhering or who is not buying into your treatment plan. I hope you enjoy the show. Hey, welcome back to the Go-To Physio Show. Now, this is the second last episode in Season 1, and we're going to continue the ankle theme, and we're going to talk about something that I know a lot of people get quite excited about. A lot of therapists feel overwhelmed sometimes, and that's getting that return to play just right for that patient. And this is something, an ankle, where therapists, they tend to skip steps a lot, and they don't tend to take ankles as serious as maybe, a low back or a groin return to play. But what I can tell you from my experience is that when someone comes into me with a hamstring or a groin or a low back even sometimes, that very often we see the impact of not having enough intent through a foot where they may have had previous ankle injuries. So I think the ankle, it's one of the most important joints to really give back the nervous system the confidence to tolerate load in all different directions. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, is the ankle return to play. Okay, so how I map it out in my mind is this is getting back to return to play, return to life, return to running. Okay, so what we need here is we need good change of direction. Okay, so that's full range of motion. Okay, especially in the calcaneus. Okay, so again, we don't want any protective tone, anything like that. We want these guys to be able to tolerate high loads going through the muscles. Okay, so again, how do we do that? Sprinting, change of direction, etc. That's going to stress all those tissues. So what we talked about last week is our key performance indicators here. So if we have that calf raise good, okay, so we've got a full calf raise, then the next logical step from me, okay, if I wanted to tolerate loading ground reaction forces through sprinting, okay, that to me personally, I think is too big a jump. So all we want to do here is we want to fill the gaps. Okay, so we want something else here. Okay, so we'll have range of motion here. We'll have a calf raise. We get those two nailed away. That's probably session 1 to 2. Okay, constraint based, that's all we're focusing on. We nail that. The next thing we want to do is some kind of maybe lunge, okay, or something like that where we're working on accepting weight. You can see the lunge, that's going to feed into our change of direction or deceleration. Okay, we can do a lunge in all different kind of ways to stress the calcaneus, to stress the ankle joint range of motion, to stress different fibers of the tissues in a natural, more controlled way than if we jumped from here straight to there. Okay, one of the big things then we also want to do is maybe some ankling. Okay, why would I want to do some ankling? Well, I want to do some ankling to check, are the peroneals able to brace? Okay, do we have some good midfoot stiffness? Okay, why is that going to be important? Okay, because that's going to be pretty important for top end speed. Okay, it's going to be very, very important as well for accelerations. Okay, so again, there's no point trying to do this, in my opinion, if we can't even do that. Because if we can't do that, then that tells me that either there's a problem with the tissues, whether it's the syndesmosis, whether it's the peroneal, some of protective tone, that's not allowing the gastroc and the cilius to produce force. Okay, we nail that, we move on, we increase this load. These two might be sessions 3 to 4. Okay, we're happy with that. To nail the ankling, then to get from here to there, we want to make sure that athlete or that patient is ready to run. So that then for me would be my Hoffman progressions. Okay, so again, I've got 3 different levels with the hopping. Okay, For deceleration, I've got 2 different levels for the acceleration that I do. But once my athlete comes through those, okay, what we tend to see is this. Okay, so we actually overload the tissues that we're worried about before the athlete runs. So this might be running session 1, this might be running session 3. Okay, now that sometimes we might actually just go straight to 3 if in the one session, and once we give them that great exposure. But here we're going to overload with some high level hopping. Okay, we're very interested after the session, during the session. Is there any reaction? Okay, has anything here changed as a result of doing that? If anything has changed, then I'm like, okay, am I starting to get a bit greedy with my load, or can I push on a little bit more? If that athlete comes back in the next day, they got full range of motion, good calf raise, absolutely no pain doing any of those, they've nailed that. Okay, now let's get back up to that next logical progression. Okay, so having that common sense step-by-step system, it just helps you to keep focused on the important things so that you're not skipping steps, basically. So this might be session 5, they might fly through that, okay, and then they're back running at session 6 or session 7 to 8, depending on the severity of that ankle syndesmosis. If it was an ankle sprain and it wasn't too bad, you got rid of all the swelling, that may take 1 session, that may take 1 session, that may take 1 session, they may be back in 4 sessions. It does not matter, okay, how long it takes once they've earned the right to progress within reason, okay, especially for the ankle where if they've strained some tissues, especially lateral ligaments. We know that a lot of people will be working without those anyway, but we still need to make sure we've got good intent through all these. And then the other big thing we want to make sure is that we've got good intent from that gastroc and that hamstring working well together as well. Okay, so we want to be able to push through that foot, okay, and making sure that these are working well together as well, so that one isn't maybe overloading for the other as well. Because if we've less intent here as synergies, the other is probably going to take up the extra workload. Okay, so that's how I would basically map it out. It looks an absolute mess. As I said, in the mentorship, we've got all the lovely templates and it all looks a bit neater than that. But that's basically what I want with an ankle, is I just want to go through the step-by-step process in 3 dimensions. Okay, so again, we're not all sagittal plane. We might need the frontal plane, we might need the transverse plane. That's going to come down to the 80-20 rule. Okay, so again, 20% of our time is maybe getting this stuff right, but 80% of our time is focusing on some of this stuff. Okay, and again, we might be working on range of motion in the sagittal plane, and we can be up here on session 1 with some high level stuff in the frontal or the transverse plane, or vice versa. We might only be at level 1 with a frontal plane, and sagittal plane we might be actually progressing them a little bit. So there's loads and loads you can do pretty much from day 1 post injury. And I think a big reason why we've had great success in getting athletes back ahead of time, okay, from traditional textbook return to play times, is that while a lot of therapists are just happy to let the athlete stay there and, you know, just chill out for a day or 2, stick the ankle in a bucket of ice. Yeah, sure, we're doing that as well. They're doing that in their own time, but we're working very hard on this guy. And there's going to be a lot of loading that you're going to be able to do on that guy that's not going to affect your actual pain experience, okay, or your actual tissues. So it's a nice way of working, and then we cut off the time we've earned the right to load, so by the time we get to the running, they're able to tolerate that ground reaction forces from the bottom up. Now again, there's some literature out there that we have gone through with this in terms of the ID loading, and you know, it's very useful to have that constraint base. So this is all we're working on this week, this is what we're working, because then you don't skip steps and you nail every single step, so the athlete has earned the right to get back to their activity, or the private practice patient's got earned the right to get back to doing whatever they love. So that's kind of proved my hypothesis to myself, that I think if we can get this by now, the thing is, the most important thing is, you may start to see, again, we've got sensitized tissues above the shoulder now, but at least we can get the forces through the bicep and tricep. So what we'll do now is, one of the big tissues that's going to go towards that will be this. So most therapists may go too high level here. I just want to keep
content, the amount of content, really, just the knowledge and the experience that I'm getting from it. Just blown away about the videos and everything.
So what we're going to do is we're just going to go into a half kneeling position, hip and knee about 90 degrees, and then what we can do is we can just then get this knee to go over the toes. Now the big thing here to get one of those tissues to lengthen, the direction where the knee goes is going to be the big thing. So if I decide to have this knee over the little toe, that's going to cause an inversion of the foot. Okay, so we're going to lock that subtalar joint to a point, and then we're going to actually dorsiflex with supination. So that's going to lengthen the inside ligament here, which is the tibia-talar ligament. Okay, so what I like to do in that scenario, get a broomstick or something like that, put it over the fifth toe, and then keep the athlete just mobilizing that ligament. Okay, now it's going to feel almost locked initially. Okay, so the athlete will feel like they can't go very far before the heel starts to rise, and you just keep them there, and after about 4 or 5 reps they'll tend to feel like, okay, I'm actually getting a little bit freer here, and I can actually get a little bit further without the heel coming off the floor. So that's going to be your tibia-talar ligament that's going to mobilize. Okay, and again, we might even go a little bit wider here to really get it ER. So that the wider that knee goes, that's going to externally rotate the hip, and it's going to externally rotate the tib and fib, which is going to lengthen the posterior tibia-talar ligament in the transverse plane. We're really going to go outside the knee here. Now, for the fibula-talar ligament, that's obviously going to lengthen a little bit more with a internal rotation of the tib-fib, but also a pronation of the subtalar joint. So that scenario, we will be mobilizing that ligament more so with the knee going inside the big toe. Now for that, there's going to be a lot of other tissue start to lengthen here, so we're going to get a little bit of subtalar joint medial deltoid ligament lengthening as well, but that's going to be one for that. So on palpation, if you found that the medial posterior ligaments of the ankle were more sensitive, then we're going to opt with the fifth toe, and this is usually the one that I use most frequently, if I'm being honest. Okay, and we're just going to get them to do maybe 10 reps of that kind of exercise, and then usually then I will correspond that with some kind of functional movement where we might just get them up, and we might replicate the exact same movement where we want the foot just to get involved with the knee and the hip. The Therapist Mentorship Program was put together to help you accelerate your ability to have confidence and clarity with any patient that comes through the door. It's a very intimate 90-day experience where you work closely with myself and my most trusted therapists to put together a very, very specific structure in your assessment, your treatment, and your rehab for every single patient, so that you can truly get the results that both you and your patient deserve, so you can become that go-to therapist. If you want more information, just click on the button below this video or go to thegotofphysio.com/mentorship. So welcome to this week's segment of Build Your Business. Now, last week we touched upon the importance of always being top of mind to past patients. Okay, we introduced this concept of frequent emails. Okay, and now what I want to talk about is what to actually put into or what not to put into those emails. Okay, so when you get an email yourself in your inbox and you get it from a big company and you open that inbox and it's a nice fancy imagery type template even, okay, with loads of different products and loads of different stuff. If you ask yourself, what do you do with 9 out of 10 of these emails? Okay, and most of us, we just skim it, or we might even look at it, we'll just press delete. Okay, whereas flip that on the other side and you get an email saying from one of your friends, okay, and it says, hey, whatever your name is in the subject or whatever it is, you open email, it goes, hey, whatever your name is, a few lines, and then speak soon, whoever. Okay, you're much more likely to read and consume an email as if it's coming from a friend. Okay, so all these fancy email broadcast companies, and they've got all these fancy templates, the chances of your patients consuming those emails, okay, from my experience, and I think statistically as well, it's been proven, although I'll have to double check that for you, we found that we've got great success when we keep these emails informal and as if you're writing to a friend, okay? And I had a colleague in Ireland, and he said it to me, he had almost like a 20% unsubscribe rate, okay? And I asked him one question, he goes, did you use a template, okay? Whereas what you should be doing is you're just keeping in touch with people, okay? It's as if you want to be writing that email very conversational, as if you've got your patient in front of you and you're just having a chat, okay? Now obviously you need to modify it a little bit because it's email, but keep it informal, keep it lighthearted, let people know what's going on, okay? Then at the end, you can make an offer or whatever you want to do, okay? But you want to offer some insight of what you've been up to, okay? What the clinic's been up to, what the people in the clinic are being up to. And then at the end, you know, if you want to have a last little bit about all, if any of you are struggling, don't hesitate to give us a contact, okay? Versus this big fancy template that looks great, but we are primed, okay, to see that, delete, okay, versus a more personal email, we're more programmed, we have a better chance of reading that, okay? So take that into consideration if you are sending weekly emails, and let me know how it goes. As I said, it's something that I've noticed myself, and we do at the clinic here. We get a great response with keeping in touch with our past patients to keep ourselves to the top of the brain, so then if one of them or one of their friends are struggling, that we're still in their minds. So then the natural thing for them to do is go see Dave or go see Shane or one of the other therapists at the clinic. Hi guys, welcome back to another Brain Booster with Carl Morris, and Carl's on the line again today to chat a bit more about what we've talked about over the last few weeks, which is how to deal with patients who have maybe had a few setbacks or even in that persistent pain state now and have had the confidence drained out of them, so to speak. So Carl, what I want to chat to you today is how do we deal with the patient that's come in and they've had a bad day?
Yeah. I think first of all, Dave, is the understanding, whether it's injury recovery or playing sport or life in general, you'll have bad days. And I think the problem is with most people in life, when a bad day comes along, it tends to halt the progress because we follow a bad day with another bad day and another bad day. And all of a sudden we're in a slump. You know, many years ago, somebody said to me about slumps. He said the best way of avoiding a slump is not to get in one. You know, and what is a slump? A slump is a series of bad days. So it isn't so much in sport or recovery. It isn't so much the bad thing that comes along, the bad shot or the drop pass or the lost game or the bad day with recovery. Not so much the bad day, it's your reaction to it. And always understand, for me, the understanding is you always have a choice about how you react to a bad day. Now, the choice can either be have a bad day and follow it with another one, and then start getting involved in the story of how things are terrible in your life and things are not going well, or you can decide that tomorrow you're going to follow a bad day actually with a good day. And it might just be, and start small. It might be the smallest possible thing that you could aim at the next day, but just something that you can say to yourself, I'm going to do this, and you do it. Be that a certain exercise routine or a walk or what, I talk about little victories, and sometimes the littlest victory, the smallest possible thing, might be just eating well for a particular, whatever it may be, just have that little victory to follow that bad day. So what we do is we take charge. We don't take charge of the bad days, they will happen, but we take charge of our reaction to those bad days. That's the critical key.
That's brilliant, Carl. There's loads there again that we can use in the real world with that. And I think that episode right here, it just sums up kind of the past 7-8 episodes of the Brain Booster, the segments of the Brain Booster that you've put into it. So absolute brilliant. I think there's a lot there, especially with the persistent pain patients that I work with, that I know I can implement straight away. So that's absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, Dave.